Hey guys, and welcome back. We're continuing 14 Days with You. It's a game you could find on itch.io. It is really well done. Highly recommend. Go support the official release, please. They don't ask for a lot, so I feel like we should give them as much support as we can. This game has so much details and effort in it, and it's just amazing. They have a playlist for the characters. I'm obsessed, obviously. But anyways, my name is Myriad of Roses, and I play video games. Welcome. We are part 3 of this video set, so please, if you are into this, please start at the beginning because it'll make a lot more sense. I love Ren. It's a good time. There are some Easter eggs and stuff that you could just find without knowing things, but I'm going to try to keep it a very normal playthrough, so you have to look at them yourself, because I've played the game 14 times and I still found new things, which is pretty awesome, I think. And for a demo, oh my god. Okay, sorry. I'll stop gushing. No matter how many times I tried to brush it aside, I still couldn't get my mind off what had just occurred earlier. What if Ren was interested in her? Granted, he probably shouldn't have blatantly flirted with her while on a date with me, but he wasn't exactly the most confident guy. Would he still be able to talk to her again if things didn't work out between us? No, I shouldn't be thinking like that. Peering up to gauge his expression, I noticed how he didn't really look all that upset about leaving her. If anything, he seemed rather content to be walking down the street with his fingers entwined with mine once more. I could feel him giving my hand a protective squeeze as he looks down at me with his soft blue eyes, and of all my worries somehow melt away. Maybe I did make the right choice after all. It might have been selfish, but it was worth having Ren look at me with such a gentle expression. Eventually, the sun starts to set behind the ocean as Ren and I continue our walk along the beach. Most of the conversations was geared towards me and my interests again, but every time I tried to learn more about Ren, he only seemed to divert the conversation back to me once more. But the more I focused on his odd behavior, the more I began to pick up on his social habits as well. I learned that Ren would subtly pick at his sleeves of his cardigan whenever he got nervous, or how he would scratch at his jaw whenever the conversation strayed down a path he didn't feel comfortable with. His little quirks told me more about himself than the dead-end conversations that only had led back to me, and I was content with knowing more about him than I did yesterday. Ren no longer felt like a stranger I had met at a library, but rather someone I could consider a friend. Except, friends aren't supposed to get jealous whenever they see them flirt with someone else. Geez, what was wrong with me? It had been barely 2 days, and I was already contemplating whether or not I truly saw Ren in a romantic light. Was I going too fast? All of these thoughts were starting to get a bit overwhelming, and... Angel? Hello? Huh? You're spacing out on me again. There's that look again. I'm not going to tell you who or how it is. Just join the Discord, but I was very excited. This was a while ago, though, too, so maybe it's okay. God. Am I going to go to Ren Gel? I hope not. I'm just excited. I might cut that. I don't know. He keeps peering down at me with so much adoration in his eyes. And if I didn't know any better, I would think that he was already halfway in love with me. But that was a very conceited thought and probably wasn't even true. Sorry, I was just thinking about things. Are you going to share those things with the rest of the class? He sends me a playful smile and a gentle nudge into my side, and I couldn't help but laugh. When did we become so comfortable with each other? And when did he lose his stutter? It's nothing really. Maybe a bit embarrassing, but, well, I was wondering. How do you feel about... My sentence gets cut short when a drop of rain lands on my cheek. Instinctively, I look up and find myself wondering how I didn't notice those dark clouds in the sky sooner. All of a sudden, more droplets fall down, until it's all but pouring rain and forcing everyone in the area to find cover. Over here! I'm torn between his voice. Because, I like the deeper voice, but then I'm like, the cutie persona and the stutter, it makes me think they'd be, lighter. But Ren doesn't seem to pay much attention when he grabs me by the wrist and pulls me underneath one of the awnings of a nearby building. He shields me from the rain with his body, and I couldn't help but feel tiny with the way his arms cage me in as he rests them against the wall. Oh, so cute. And he blinks. We look at each other in silence for a brief moment before erupting in laughter. Perhaps it was because of the adrenaline from all the panicked running, or the fact that Ren's hair was starting to lose its fluffiness, but I couldn't hold back from letting out a fit of giggles. This only seemed to spur Ren on as well, until we were both wheezing out our lungs and gulping down air. I can't remember the last time I ran that fast. Me too. The looming sound of thunder echoes from afar and drowns out our laughter until we're both silent once more. Once we both calmed down, Ren moves me further away from the rain before casting a glance behind me. Wait here. I'll buy an umbrella so we can get out of this rain. But you'll get soaked. 'Tis a sacrifice I'm willing to make. I roll my eyes at his corny joke and send him off with an amused smile. He doesn't look back before he makes a mad dash out into the rain and down the street towards the closest convenience store. Though the rain only seems to get heavier the moment he leaves, and I find myself pressing even further against the wall behind me to avoid the recoil of the rain bouncing off the pavement. There wasn't much for me to do while I waited for Ren to return, aside from watching people scramble around for shelter. And just like that, the carefree sound of laughter echoing from down the street captures my attention as I watch Leon, Tio, and Jay all run to cover like their lives depended on it. Well, it seemed as though their beach outgoing got cut short as well. Glancing back down once more, I barely make out the figure of Leon using his bag as a makeshift umbrella as he ducks under one of the awnings of an ice cream stand, all while Tio and Jay trail behind him at a leisurely pace, kicking and splashing water at each other in the rain. I had to look away the moment Tio starts to remove his shirt, and I had an inkling that it was so that he could show off, that freak. And knowing Jay, he'll follow along without a care in the world, because that's what he always does when it comes to his friends. A part of me feels like calling out the group to see if I can wait out the storm alongside them, but they all seem to be enjoying themselves and didn't want to get in between that. Plus, I did promise Ren that I'd wait for him here, even if he was taking his sweet time. Was he ever going to return? There was still no sign of him or his comfy-looking cardigan, and I was beginning to wonder if he really did ditch me. After all, it must have been more than 15 minutes by now. What if he got caught up with something, or what if he went back to see that cashier lady again? Her store did happen to be on the same street, but after spending the afternoon with Ren and getting to know him, I concluded that he wasn't the type of person to do such a thing. Plus, that'd be a really low blow considering he was the one who offered to take me out on a date today. Although, if I was being honest with myself, it did seem as though they'd had chemistry, especially with how she looked at him and touched his arm as though it was the most natural thing in the world. She apparently knew him as well, or at least he looked recognizable enough. Why did that thought make my blood boil? Thankfully, the rain was there to cool me off, as well as soak the ends of my outfit and make everything feel damp and uncomfortable. Was Ren really coming back? Shouldn't take this long to buy an umbrella. We're gonna wait for him, because he's a sweet little guy. Maybe if something did come up, I'm sure he'll be back. And if on cue, I spot a familiar patch of pink hair from within the misty rain, frantically sprinting with an umbrella in one hand and a bag under the other. Angel? Angel! He almost slams into me before stopping in time, and I could tell by the way he was wheezing that he ran all the way back here without stopping. Sorry, I thought I almost lost you for a second. It was so hard to see in this weather. Geez, Ren, what took you so long? I almost wanted to cuss him out for taking well over 20 minutes just to buy a single umbrella, but the genuinely apologetic look on his features made me hold my tongue. Sorry, do you remember your friends from earlier? I ran into them on the way there, which took forever for me to shake them off. And then the convenience store ended up closing early due to the sudden weather change. So then I had to go to that awful souvenir shop with that obnoxious and clingy cashier again. And she asked me if he was talking a mile a minute, and I was worried he'd end up biting his tongue. Gently, I raised a hand to signal to him to calm down, and his intense monologue soon comes to a halt. I really am sorry about making you wait so long, but... ta-da! I did manage to get an umbrella, along with other things as well. He gives it a small twirl in his hands, sending droplets of water all over the place. We can start heading back home now if you want, unless you want to go somewhere specific. I brought him to ours last time, right? So we can go to your apartment. I'm okay with that. My apartment? Sure. It's not that far away. Anyway, we could wait out the storm there if you'd like. I even have a heater and dryer we could use. The image of me sitting in front of a warm, cozy heater was too hard to resist, so I end up eagerly stepping under Ren's umbrella while he leads the way. Yeah, I don't think I have a dryer in my apartment. Despite the heavy downpour of rain, we managed to make it to Ren's apartment complex in one piece. I guess he really wasn't lying when he said his apartment wasn't far from mine. But judging from the pristine interior and fully functioning elevators, His building seemed to be in far better shape compared to my apartment. The elevator ride couldn't been a less awkward, though, if it weren't for the slow ascend and tacky music. Or for the fact that Ren deemed it appropriate to shake his hair like a wet dog and get water droplets everywhere. Once the elevator door slides open, I was immediately met with a grandiose corridor and large, spacious doors, and I found myself wondering how much it costs to live in a place like this. Don't look too hard at how messy my place is, okay? I wasn't expecting to have someone over today, so I didn't bother cleaning up. I'm getting a weird sense of deja vu. Thankfully, I don't have any white-haired neighbors who like to take their plants on walks. Actually, now that I think about it, it's a bit strange, but no one lives on this floor except for me. I'm not really sure why, but I'm not going to complain. I can make as much noise as I want. No one would notice. Ren shoots me a mischievous grin, and I find myself wondering what he meant by that. Like, loud music and stuff? Movies? Yeah, something like that. He unlocks the door with some electronic card attached to his keychain, and the moment the door swings open, I let out an audible gasp. Ren doesn't seem fazed in the slightest as he flicks on the light and walks into his own home, but I could only stand at the entrance to his foyer in shock. Yes, foyer. He had a whole damn foyer in his apartment. Was this even an apartment? Surely a penthouse would have made more sense. Holy shit, Ren. Is there something wrong? What is it? I know the decor is kind of tacky, but it came with the apartment, and I haven't found the time to do anything about it yet. I'm sorry, but are you the long-lost heir of a billionaire or something? This place is huge. And hello. Is that marble? No. I get paid a lot for my job, enough to afford rent at least. I look silly. I don't know why. Let me try that. You see that? I don't know how to fix it. You know, I don't think I've asked you yet, but what is your job? My job is, well, I guess you could say I'm a programmer? I don't know. I just take on a few jobs every so often. Nothing super fancy or anything. Nothing super fancy? Ren, you have a marble flooring. Leaving the newly discovered programmer at the entrance, I curiously venture into his apartment. Marble's a pain in the ass to clean, too. Oh, Angel, do you want some slippers? The floor can get cold and your shoes are probably soaked, right? Turning around, I notice Ren open a small closet and pull out a pair of dark house slippers. He looks at me with a curious expression, but makes no effort to hand them over. Only if you want them. I'll take them, but only because they look like they're Gucci. Ren lets out a puff of laughter through his nose at my joke, but doesn't seem to deny it. Were these slippers really from a luxury brand? As I put them on, I notice how they are an exact fit, and it makes me wonder if I just have average-sized feet, or if Ren had bought a bunch of expensive house slippers in varying sizes. But as funny as that imagery was, how did he actually guess my shoe size without seeing my feet? Here, why don't I show you to the bathroom? I'll find you something to wear in the meantime while your clothes are in the dryer. Or would you prefer a towel instead? I guess that would make more sense. Sorry, I don't usually invite people over. Seeing his timid side surface once more gave me a sudden urge to tease him. This was what I went with my first time, so I'll give you this one. Is it Egyptian cotton? Egyptian cotton? What's that? It's kind of in the name, Ren. Well, I don't think my towels come from Egypt. I mean, that's pretty far away, and I can only imagine how expensive the shipping would be. Pfft, you know what? Forget I asked. He actually looked like he was considering the question, and I had to roll my eyes in good humor, especially at his comment on shipping being expensive. What would shipping cost to him if he could afford a place like this? So, anyway, I'll show you to the bathroom. You can use whatever you want in there. Nothing is off limits. First, it was offering to spend the night at my place. Then it was asserting himself as my boyfriend in front of my friends. He really doesn't care about personal boundaries, huh? I was beginning to think that Ren didn't really seem to mind when it came to me invading his personal bubble as well. Though he still seemed pretty standoffish around Tio and Leon, and it took him a while to warm up to Eleanor back at the library. He even seemed indifferent when he first met Violet, but I figured it was only because he was shy. Speaking of being shy, I still noticed how Ren didn't seem to be switching up his personality as much anymore, and I was beginning to think that he was showing me his real side. Up until now, everything felt real and genuine, and I've found that we could bounce back witty retorts between each other more easily. Though every now and again he might slip up and stutter, but I just assumed it was because my teasing made him flustered. So maybe the timid side of him was genuine after all? But I'll leave some clothes for you outside and put the plushie I bought you in your room. Huh? Oh, yeah, thanks. Great, I was zoning out again. I completely missed half of what he was saying. Something about clothes and a plushie he bought? Was he talking about the Haruko plushie I was eyeing up earlier? I mean, he was carrying a gift bag from that souvenir shop earlier. Did he really buy me that toy? Ren, however, doesn't seem to pick up on my confusion, though, and invitingly opens the bathroom door for me with a soft smile. And so, without trying to make things awkward, I quickly slip inside and lean against the door for support, which was fortunate for me, because one sweep of the bathroom had me stumbling back in surprise. Whoa. Even his bathroom looked expensive. I was afraid of touching anything, feared I'd accidentally break it and end up paying for it. Glancing around again, I noticed how his countertops seemed to be void of any dental care, hairbrushes, and skincare products, though a few bottles of concealer and an open box of hair dye sit in the corner near the sink. Well, I guess that answers my burning question about whether or not he naturally had pink hair. But now it made me wonder, if Ren does dye his hair, then what was his natural color like? There's still so many things I didn't know about that soft-looking guy, and I was beginning to question whether coming here was a good idea or not. With a sigh, I decided not to waste any more time thinking about irrelevant things, and instead turned my attention back to the shower. Quickly stepping out of my clothes, I jump into the unnecessary large glass booth and turn on the water. Glancing at Ren's shelves of albeit limited hair and body supplies, I couldn't help but notice that one brand in particular happened to be the exact same as mine. Did we use the same body wash? He really didn't smell like me, but maybe that was because I wasn't paying much attention. I mean, who randomly smells people out of the blue anyway? Shaking my head at such a silly notion, I began to scrub away the lingering smell of rain from my body and quickly finished washing up. Bundled up in a warm towel, I crack open the large door and poke my head out into the hallway. True to his word, Ren left a small pile of clothing outside the bathroom, neatly stacked and propped against the side of the wall. Bringing the contents back inside, I noticed that one piece of clothing in particular was a rather comfy-looking hoodie. But the design on the front, however, was rather morbid looking, and I didn't really suit Ren's vibes. Maybe from a horror film or something? Ugh. Shrugging my shoulders, I put the hoodie on and instinctively get enveloped by the sheer amount of fabric. I mean, it made sense considering Ren's large and lanky frame, but this was just absurd. I had to stifle a laugh from the amusing sight of the fogged-up mirror, but I had to admit that the soft fabric felt nice and warm against my skin. Even the scent that came from it felt oddly comforting somehow. Turning back to the remaining clothes in the pile, I gently pick up the next item and try to put it on. The gray sweatpants didn't seem to fit the length of my legs despite the number of times I tried to tug at the fabric. But luckily, Ren was thoughtful enough to give me some other alternatives. The dark pair of shorts seemed like a better option, especially since it came with a drawstring and deep pockets. We love pockets here. Once I was fully dressed, I stepped out of the bathroom and aimlessly walked around until I hear the faded sound of a TV playing. Feeling curious, I followed the source of the sound down the hallway. Breaking news! A sudden storm hits the bay. As gale force winds a knock over the street signs in the evening ons. Guests believe that the sudden change of weather will die down soon, and to stay safe indoor. I continue to follow the noise until it suddenly cuts out and changes into a glaring monotone sound, indicating that the television must have lost all signal. And soon enough, I found myself in Ren's spacious lounge room. Aside from the TV, the rest of the lights were off, but I could still make out most of the dark shapes within the room with ease. It was just as ostentatious as the rest of his house, though I couldn't help but feel like it lacked any form of life. It just didn't seem like someone actually lived here. The furniture was gaudy, yet tasteless. There was hardly any personal decoration or colors, and there was nothing that really screamed Ren to me. There was no personal touches, photos, items, hobbies, nothing. Just tacky furniture and the bland smell of something sterile. If I were being honest, it gave off the same vibe as a dentist clinic or a hospital. I mean, he did mention recently moving in, right? Maybe that's why. Who moved in? Surprised by the sudden voice, I spin on my heel only to find Ren coming out from one of the hallways with a new set of comfy clothing. He seemed much more at ease like this, especially with a gentle expression on his face. I watch as he takes a respectful glance at my added attire before sheepishly averting his attention to the ends of his sleeves. Sorry. That's the only pair of clothing I could find that might fit you. It looks really good on you, though. Oh, thanks. You can even keep them if you want. The sound of thunder rumbling in the distance cuts off Ren's mumbling, and an involuntary step closer to him. Without missing a beat, he reaches out and rests a protective hand on my shoulder to steady me. Ren idly glances out the window before turning his undivided attention back to me once more. Only this time with a determined look. It's really pouring, huh? I could only nod my head at his words, suddenly feeling sheepish all of a sudden. I really should have checked the weather forecast before I went out today. But to be fair, it didn't look like as though it starts spontaneously raining when I left my apartment this morning. And I guess I was enjoying my time with Ren to the point where I didn't even realize the weather was turning sour. Angel? Sorry, what did you say? I just asked if you wanted to stay the night. You know, seeing how hard it is raining out there, and your clothes haven't finished drying yet. It'd be no trouble, and I could return the favor, considering how you let me stay at your apartment yesterday. Staying at his place for the night? Well, this isn't certainly how I expected to end my day. But would it really be that bad? It definitely beats waiting out the storm and walking home with a bunch of puddles everywhere. Don't mind that. Yeah, I think we're gonna spend the night with him. I don't know, guys. I guess I could stay if that's really okay with you. Yeah, of course, totally fine. Wow, he's really energetic. Eccentric man, wasn't he? An eccentric man. Yeah, whatever. Let me know if you need any more pillows or blankets. Or if the room gets cold. I haven't worked out how to use the fancy heater system yet, but I could definitely try. Also, you already know where the bathroom is, but if you... Okay, I think I get it, Ren. Shoot him a reassuring smile as I turn to face him at the door. Should have gotten used to his alternative and observant behavior by now, but it still felt like a foreign side of him that I hadn't fully uncovered. Still, at least he wasn't stuttering as much anymore. I know, sorry. I just want you to be as comfortable as possible. So just treat this house like it's your own. Alright, gotcha. He looks like he doesn't want to leave, and instead lingers in front of the door a little while longer. Are you sure there isn't anything else you need? Anything at all? We're gonna ask for a goodnight kiss. Can I get a goodnight kiss, Ren, please? Almost sheepishly, I dared to look up and gauge Ren's reaction to my words. He seems to be taking it as best as he can, judging from how bright red his cheeks and neck get. And the fact that he can't seem to look at me in the eyes. Ren, don't get all shy on me now. Before I could finish my sentence, Ren was already leaning down and pressing his soft lips against my own. I barely noticed the way his hands gently hold my shoulders to keep me steady as his head tilts to the side. The kiss was brief and chaste, but it still made the both of us flustered. Is that okay? Uh-huh. Okay, good. I'm glad. Good night. Before I can even respond, he already is turning on his heel and speeding walking towards his own room. Poor baby. We're teasing him. Shaking my head at his odd behavior, I close the door behind me and slowly make my way towards the bed. I noticed that the Haruko plushie Ren had bought earlier was sitting atop the sheets, and I gently bring it closer to my chest and give it a soft squeeze. So you really did buy this for me after all? The faintest hint of cherry and mint emits from the toy, and it makes my mind drift to thoughts of that strange pink-haired man once more. He was still as odd as usual, but some parts of him were starting to feel rather endearing. I noticed how he was no longer stuttering as much or acting as shy, and it made me wonder if we were getting closer. Now that I really thought about it, how did I feel about Ren? Obviously we're crushing on him. Obviously. I don't know. We could like him, but I'm trying to think of like my first playthrough what I said, but don't mind my stupid hair, by the way. I am getting a haircut. Hopefully it'll fix it. Okay, so maybe I did find him rather endearing and attractive. Ren was very considerate and attentive towards me during our date, and I could see myself wanting to go on another date in the near future. He certainly had boyfriend potential, but I still needed to work up the nerve to make it lead towards that direction. He seemed far too hesitant to do it himself, but it would have been nice to see him put more effort into it as well. Ah well, just knowing Ren wanted to spend the entire day with me is enough. Every day with me forever. Rolling onto my side, I hug the plushie closer so I can be surrounded by his comforting scent and slowly drift off to sleep. No, it's good. It's my stupid bangs. I don't know what to do with them. It's making me so angry. The unusual sound of city life and traffic pull me away from my slumber, and I awake to the sight of an unfamiliar ceiling. This wasn't my bedroom, and this certainly wasn't my bed. Last I checked, my duvets were a patterned purple, a housewarming gift from Violet when I first moved into my apartment, not this dark shade of black. Confused, I rubbed the sleep from my eyes in order to fully take in the rest of the room. And just like that, memories from yesterday come flooding back. Oh, right. Ren offered to let me stay the night due to the freak storm that swept over Corland Bay. It was sweet of him to do, and it had me wondering where he was right now. Was he still fast asleep? Or perhaps he was already awake? Deciding there was no time like the present to find out, I stretch out the knots in my body, wake myself up fully, and jump out of bed. As soon as I walk out into the hallway, the mouth-watering scent of something sweet and sugary greets me, and it almost has my feet floating towards the kitchen. Curiosity, or perhaps hunger, takes over my body, and before I know it, I find myself navigating through the maze of Ren's stupidly large apartment. Speak of the devil. There's Ren standing in his kitchen, hunched over the stove with a spatula in one hand, and what looks like to be a recipe pulled up on his phone in the other. He doesn't seem to notice my presence yet, so I take the opportunity to study him a little bit more. And although I could only see most of his backside and side profile, I could easily make out the concentrated look on his face as his gaze flits back and forth between his phone and the pan. But just when I think he's about to turn around, Ren lets out a surprised noise and immediately lifts the pan from the stove. Fuck! Hearing Ren swear so casually was still something I had to get used to, but that wasn't what made me switch to this right now. Sniffing the air, the smell of something burning invades my nostrils and has me retreating back into the living space for some fresh air. Wow. Did Ren really manage to burn a pancake? Or maybe he just wasn't that confident in cooking? Regardless, seeing him put so much effort into something so trivial did manage to pull it at my heartstrings. Deciding I've had my full fill of watching Ren, I finally make myself known. We're gonna hug him because I think he'll like that. Quietly tiptoeing behind the taller man, I wait for the perfect opportunity to strike before wrapping my arms around his waist and resting my head on his broad backside. Angel? I didn't hear you. Despite his flustered outburst, Ren doesn't seem to move from my hold. In fact, he almost seems to melt and lean into my touch instead. Almost as if to confirm my thoughts, I feel him wrap one of his arms around my waist to pull me in for a brief hug. Good morning, Angel. I was gonna surprise you with breakfast in bed. Sorry, did I take too long? It was like I flicked an invisible switch, because all of a sudden, Ren was back to the usual timid personality that I'd grown to know. You don't have to go through all that trouble for me. It's fine. I wanted to, really. Here. Without giving me a second to spare, Ren conjures up a plate full of thick, fluffy pancakes from somewhere behind him, alongside a few toppings as well. I didn't manage to burn these ones, at least. Eat as much as you like. I'll have this one. He gestures to the burnt pancake still stuck to the frying pan. No amount of washing and scrubbing would restore that pan to its former glory. Giving Ren a pitiful look, I deposit a few fluffy pancakes onto my own plate before offering the rest to him as well. Bryn, you've made enough to feed an army. Why don't we share? It's okay. I made them all for you, exactly how you like them. Oh? And how do you know how I like my pancakes? Deciding to tease him a little, I throw the light-hearted accusation into the air and hope that he'll catch it. Huh? Oh, I suppose. Don't people normally enjoy pancakes this way? I thought maybe. There he goes again, getting flustered beyond belief while his cheeks flush a deep shade of red. It really was adorable. Relax. I'm only teasing you. These pancakes are delicious, by the way. Oh, you were just joking. His mood immediately seems to perk up once he hears my compliment. You like them? Really? You're not lying. Then I'll make them for you again sometime. Only if you want, that is. It's no problem at all. I really don't mind. How about you just focus on eating first? Aren't you hungry? I snacked on a few pancakes while cooking them. Don't worry about me. You just eat. Do you want some different toppings? I'm sure I've got more strawberries in the fridge. Something inside me told me that Ren was lying about eating already, but I didn't feel like calling him out on it. I'm good for now, but thank you, really. Seemingly satisfied with my response, or lack thereof, Ren lets out a pleased hum and instead moves away to busy himself with washing the dishes. My gaze follows him, and I absentmindedly catch a glimpse at the clock on one of the shelves. 8 o'clock on the dot. Wait a second! 8 o'clock? I was gonna be late for work! As if picking up on my panicked behavior, Ren halts his movements and sends me a curious glance. Crap! I'm gonna be late for work again if I don't leave now. I still need to walk home and get changed and... Hey, it's okay, Angel, calm down. Look, your clothes from yesterday are washed and dry. Why don't you just change into them, and when you're ready, I can drop you off at work. Ren? So sweet. There I go again, relying on this enigma of a man and taking up too much of his kind hospitality. I was already overstaying my welcome by using his dryer and sleeping in his spare bed. But now here I was, eating his food and being exactly 5 minutes away from getting a lift in his car. He really should be the one being called Angel instead of me. Thank you so much. I owe you my entire life. And I thought I was dramatic. Another date with you would do just fine. His soft smile is the last thing I see before I head back into the guest bedroom to change. But before I can make it 3 feet away, Ren's voice calls out to me once more. Oh, but I should warn you, I don't exactly drive a car. Turns out, Ren didn't actually own a car like I expected. He owned a damn sports motorcycle. All black, sleek, and scary. But what surprised me the most were the faded Always With You sticker decals that adorned the tank. So Ren was a fan of that webcomic as well? I always assumed the community was rather small. There wasn't much talk about the webcomic online, so it was nice to know someone else enjoyed it as much as I did. But just as I was about to bring the topic up, my vision goes dark as Ren places a helmet over my head with a smile. He fastens and adjusts the straps before motioning towards the back of his bike with an expectant look. Admittedly, I was a bit hesitant to hop on that thing, but Ren assured me that he'd tell me what to do and keep me safe the entire time. Daunting, couldn't even begin to describe how I felt when this engine turned on. And I was certain Ren had scratch marks with how tightly I was clinging onto him, but I somehow came out of it unscathed. I even managed to bag myself a nice, warm hoodie that smelled like Ren, even if its only purpose was to protect me from the wind and flying debris. And when we parted in front of the library with a friendly goodbye, Ren waited until I was inside the building before taking off. But I barely make it 3 feet inside before a mess of blonde hair enters my field of view and almost knocks me over. Angel! There you are! Quick, I need your help! Eleanor's anxious demeanor catches me off guard, and I immediately do a sweep of the library for anything out of place. But I'm hardly giving any time to take my surroundings before Eleanor reaches for my arm and all but drags me behind the reception counter and towards a mountain of paperwork. Stacks upon stacks of books, files, newspapers, and manila folders. So, I'm going to finish this. Cover the entire expanse of their desk, and for the briefest moment, it almost resembles a messy archive reposition rather than her workstation. I said with such confidence when I worked at a bank, I was like, it's called vanilla folder, and I was so wrong, but I was so certain. And we laughed, and I felt so dumb. It's fine, but I'm embarrassed. What's all this? This was supposed to be sorted out yesterday. I swear I did it already. In fact, I know I did. I remember leaving it all in Conan's office before I left work yesterday. So you can imagine my surprise when I see it back on my desk this morning. Eleanor seems genuinely concerned, especially with how she's fitting about and pacing back and forth in front of me. It was almost like she's seen a ghost, and if I didn't know any better, I honestly would have believed it. Please help me. Conan finds out I somehow messed up again. I don't know what will happen. Hey, don't worry, Elle, I'll help you. And I doubt Conan would get mad. You know how he is. I suppose you're right. Her shoulders seem to visibly relax at my words, and she slumps into her chair with a heavy sigh. Thank you so much, Angel. Do you think you can manage the stack of books? I'll handle all the files. Without missing a beat, lest our boss magically appear somewhere behind us, we immediately get to work. Time flies by quickly when I have my chatty coworker to keep my company. She fills me in on how the freak storm caught everyone off guard, and how some of the patrons shared the same idea of seeking refuge with the library as well. Apparently, Eleanor, was the only one around to keep an eye on things, and from the sounds of it, she seems to take on the leadership role like a pro. Still, discussing her whereabouts had me thinking. That reminds me, where did you go the other day? The other day? What do you mean? You remember Ren, the pink-haired guy? Oh, lover boy. Yeah, him. After we had the conversation with Ren, I never saw you afterwards. Oh, let me think. I watch as she inclines her head to the side to think, and all too quickly, she snaps her fingers and gives me an affirmative nod. Oh, that's right. Well, this is embarrassing, but I ended up going home early. I must have accidentally bumped into something while cleaning the stockroom the other day, and before I knew it, one of the shelves came tumbling down on me. It wasn't until a little while later when Conan found me and pulled me out. You knocked over an entire shelf? Miss Creston. Knowing I was only teasing, Eleanor sends me a sheepish smile and bows her head to hide her reddening cheeks. But now that I think about it, the shelves in the stockroom have always seemed relatively stable to me. My coworker wasn't known for her strength, so I didn't make much sense for it to topple over that easily. But thankfully, Eleanor elaborates more, almost as if she could hear the gears in my head working overtime. Well, I suppose it's a tad bit odd. I mean, I've worked at this library for more than 5 years now, and not once have I heard so much as a creak from those shelves. It does seem strange, yes. Well, I have no doubt Conan will be installing new storage shelves soon. Oh, speaking of, did you notice the new awning outside the library? I suppose that sudden storm from yesterday has something to do with it. In fact... Oh, maybe you heard it on the news already. I heard that all the rain... Our conversation gets cut short as I watch Eleanor's attention drift behind me and towards a flashing red light above one of the shelves. Duty calls, I guess. As soon as she stands, I shoot her an appreciative smile, which she returns with an apologetic one of her own and meanders her way towards the aisle. Now left to my own devices, I go back to sorting through the books and put them into separate piles. I manage to get a solid 10 minutes to myself before the sudden sense of unease creeps upon me. I felt as though someone was watching me, so I take a curious sweep across the vicinity to try to locate the source. But nothing seems out of the ordinary. People were studying, others were quietly typing away at computers, and I could even spot the back of Eleanor's head from her spot near the fantasy fiction aisle. Nothing was out of place, yet that unnerving feeling of having eyes on the back of my head still lingered. In fact, now that I thought about it, it was eerily similar to the feeling I got when I was walking home a few days ago. Violet's words about someone breaking into my apartment echo into my mind before it all suddenly dawns upon me. Oh my god. The supposed person watching me, could it somehow be linked? No. Nah. It's fine. Definitely not. I'm crazy. Shaking my head, I try to dismiss those unsettling thoughts before they start to envelop into something more sinister. There was no one watching me. After all, there was hardly anything impressive about me to warrant a stalker in the first place. I was as plain as they come, and if some asshole really did break into my house, they left empty-handed. That alone clearly proved that I don't know anything worth stealing, except maybe my limited edition Attack on Giant figurines, but even then. I remember thoroughly inspecting my entire apartment once I got home. Nothing was out of place, nor looked like it had been touched. Everything was as I left it in that morning. Yet it still didn't explain why I was feeling this way. Fear and apprehension seemed to overwhelm my senses so much that my mind barely registers the sound of something rustling, and I looked down to see that I had been worrying the papers in my hands for the past few minutes. Have I been stressing out that badly? Jeez. I really was letting all this paranoia get the best of me. Shaking my head once more, I decided it's best not to let those thoughts fester and grow into something far bigger than it should be. No one broke into my apartment, and no one was watching me right now. I was making a mountain out of a molehill, and nothing was going to scare me. Hello? Ah! Whoa! Says some creepy stalker dressed in all black. I was met with blonde hair and expensive-looking clothing. Was this person I felt watching me? It was difficult to make out her words over the loud, rapid sound of my heartbeat, so I tried best to calm down before responding. Sorry, I didn't notice you come in. Welcome to the Corlin Bay Library. Can I help you with anything? I hope I sounded professional enough, though I'm sure there was still a lingering sense of fear in my words and a facial expression to match. But it starts to dissipate as I take in the woman's appearance. Her green eyes seems oddly familiar to me. But what gives it all away is how the woman slightly inclines her head to the side as she looks me over with concern. Surely not. Was this... I don't suppose. Are you Kiara? Eleanor's told me all about you. In the flesh! I'm actually here to visit my darling sister, would you believe? But now you've piqued my interest. She gives me a harmless wink and rests her hand on top of the reception counter. Wow, even the changing of her jewelry sounds... The clanging of her jewelry sounds expensive, and I can't help but look at her in awe. Tell me, what else has Nori said about me? I don't know what's the answer. I was going to... She loves your taste in fashion. She better. I didn't pursue a career in fashion for nothing. Did you know I designed her handbag? It's from my latest spring Angel. As if summoning Eleanor herself, she emerges from somewhere behind me and joins us in the front desk. Kiara, what are you doing here? There she is. What? Am I not allowed to see my little sis? I'm at work right now. You could have texted me in advance. But I wanted to surprise you. And look, I come bearing gifts. At that, Kiara places down a few bags branded with the high-end prints and designer logos. Sorry, darling. If I knew I'd be meeting you here, I would have brought extra. But I'm sure there's something for you in one of the bags as well. Pick whatever Eleanor doesn't want. Eleanor. That's her name, not Eleanor. I genuinely wish I could be rich enough to say something like that. The sisters seem fully engrossed in each other's presence, so I leave them alone so that they have their moment to catch up. After all, I didn't know how long it'd be since Eleanor, God bless, and Kiara had seen each other, and the amount of work in front of me wasn't going to sort itself out in the meantime. But before I could silently slip away and sit back down, a tattooed arm boxes me in and commands my attention. And for the second time today, the expensive smell of wealth and luxury floods my senses. Only this time, I knew the person it belonged to. Damn, who are they? Seemingly out of nowhere, Tio appears with that familiar smirk on his face and an unbothered drawl in his tone. He's absolutely shameless with how his eyes take in both of the sisters' appearances before he's leaning more of his weight onto his arm and shooting me an expectant look. Don't even think about it, Tio. Trust me, you don't want me to know what I'm thinking about right now. Given how he leans even closer to my side with a sultry grin, I end up believing his words. After all, I wouldn't put it past Tio to think up multiple ways to cause a scene in his free time. Not jealous, are you? Why would you even... Whether or not it was my sudden outburst that captured their attention, Eleanor, and Kiara finally seemed to notice us. And I think my lucky stars for a chance to escape this conversation. Perhaps I could sneak off to the employees' lounge while everyone's busy. I'm sure. You work here too? I've got a few things here that you could check out. Ugh. Despite my disgust at Tio's blatant flirting, Eleanor seems to be eating it up with a slight blush on her cheeks. Oh, actually, I'm just visiting. I don't work here, but little Nori over here does. I'm sure she can help you out. Despite her friendly tone, Kiara seemed to be passively shutting down Tio's attempt at flirting and redirecting it towards Eleanor instead. Yet Tio doesn't seem to be picking up on it, instead choosing to lean a little more against the counter so that his muscles flex under his form-fitted shirt and crosses his ankles. You're not from around here, are you? I'd remember a face like yours. My name's Theodore. Theodore? I think it'd be Theo. By the way, but cuties like you could call me Tio. Charming. I'm Kiara. And no, I'm only in town for a few weeks. I'm visiting some relatives and finding some inspiration before I head back home. Inspiration, huh? Just kidding. I could show you around. Well, aren't you fun? What about my baby sister? Huh? But I'm older than you. Come on, live a little, Nori. You always tell me how you're holed up at work all the time. I suppose, but looks like you're in need of a bit of fun. Can I help with that? Have either of you been to an aquarium yet? It's open recently. Not yet, but I'll have to give you off for a pass, I'm afraid. Aquarium's not your style? You're not my style. Ouch. Despite the low blow to his ego, Tio didn't look the least bit offended. In fact, he seems to thrive off of it. But as if fate felt the urge to intervene, Kiara's phone suddenly goes off and startles everyone. Sorry, give me a sec. I need to take this call. She slips away before any of us can have the chance to respond. Without missing a beat, Tio immediately takes her previous spot besides Eleanor. And what about you? Me? Don't see anyone else around here, princess. Oh, well, I mean, I think it'd be fun, but I suppose it'd be a bit awkward if it's just you and me. You heard her, doll? As if finally acknowledging my presence, Tio turns to me with an expecting look on his face. Why don't you tag along? I'll even see if Leon wants to join in the fun. It'll be like a double date. At that, Eleanor, why am I like this? I don't know. Visibly seems to relax a little bit. I spare a quick glance in her direction, and I can pick up on the barest hint of hope in her eyes. Wait, she wanted to go on a date with Tio? I don't know, Elle. Huh, what? Got better things to do? Look, I'll pay for everything. I can even pick you up as well if you want. Sound good? Not that I'd ever openly admit to Tio, but his offer was finally starting to sound tempting. I mean, free food and a free outing? It was too good to refuse. However, sure, why not? I found myself agreeing with his offer, but before I can regret anything, Tio cuts me off. There we go. Knew you weren't going to chicken out on us. Then it's settled. Leon and I will meet you both here tomorrow after work. What time do you finish? Around... There you are, Angel. I didn't realize you were busy. Finally, it was as if someone had heard my prayers this time. Conan emerges from somewhere behind me. What was up with that today? And offers me an escape from the current conversation. And without missing a beat, I turn towards my savior and spare him a thankful glance. I make sure to silently apologize to Eleanor as well. What is wrong with me? Clearly uneasy with the thought of leaving her alone with Tio, but she seemed all too happy with how she subtly shoos me away with a hand behind her back. Sure, I can slip away for a moment. Did you need something? Just need an extra pair of hands to sort through some boxes. But if you're busy, I'll manage by myself. It's fine. I could use a breather. Okay, so perhaps I didn't need to announce that so joyfully. With warm cheeks, I turn back towards Eleanor and Tio to see them one final apologetic look before following after Conan. Apologies for this. I didn't mean to steal you from your friends. This happened to be sorting through all of the books a coworker managed to knock over this morning, and making sure they were all in the correct category before putting them back on the cart. It felt eerily similar to what I had been previously doing with Eleanor. Only this time, there weren't any Tio-shaped annoyances to keep me company. But, man, I swear, Conan has to be the only boss who's perfectly fine with their employees slacking off to talk with their friends instead. He hadn't said a word about Tio, and possibly Kiara too, just depending on how he'd been standing behind me, and seemed more than okay with us huddling around the reception desk. I decided not to push my luck. I returned Conan's soft look with one of my own. It's fine, don't worry about it. I've been meaning to ask you something, actually. Has everything been going all right with you? Nothing shady has been happening lately? What do you mean? You haven't heard the news? There's been a few murders happening in the Bay Area recently. Admittingly, I've been worried for your safety as of late. You live by yourself, correct? Yeah, but I've recently had a friend stay with me. Now that I think about it, he's also been concerned for my safety. That's good. I'm glad. Listen, if something ever happens... Conan awkwardly glances over his shoulder before returning his gaze back to me. Nothing but sincerity stares back, and I find myself in a stunned silence. Here, it's my personal number. But due to the lack of clarification, ow, my leg, I ended up sending him a confused look instead of thanking him. I know you've only recently moved back to Corland Bay, but you've yet to put someone down as your emergency contact. I'm worried if you won't have anyone to call in case something does happen. I want to make sure you're safe at all times. Oh, thank you, Conan. Of course. He gives my shoulder a gentle pat before resuming his original task. The conversation falls back into an easy, comfortable silence, and I pocket his number before pouring all of my focus towards the books laid out in front of me. The rest of my shift passes by uneventfully, and at some point, Eleanor informs me that Kiara had to leave for a work-related matter and wouldn't be coming back for a few days. She even asked Eleanor to give me her number as well, alongside mentioning something about sharing more embarrassing stories about little Nori the next time we talk, whatever that meant. Still, it was really nice to finally meet Eleanor's sister, and it was even kinder of her to give me a fountain pen before she left. Or At least I assumed it was Kiara. I found the expensive-looking box sitting on my desk once I returned, and I wasted no time in opening it up and examining the contents. The pen itself appeared to be made from extremely high-quality materials, and the cursive A and R logo looked rather fancy underneath the lights. I made a mental note to get something for Kiara as well, before pocketing the pen next to Conan's number and packing up my belongings for the day. But as I'm slipping out of the library's back door, I noticed a familiar broad backside, patch of blonde hair, and a bright red patterned shirt standing near the alleyway's entrance. The pink hurts my eyes. I think it's really cute, but my eyes get really tired when I play this game. Or when I read it, anyways. You know what I mean? Like, read it out loud. I read it, you know. As if sensing my presence, Leon turns around and greets me with one of his familiar warm smiles. Good day, Darl. Been a while. I think he has the surf accent. I think I messed it up. He sends me a toothy grin before making space for me within the group. Eleanor greets me with a delicate wave, and Tio looks moderately annoyed as usual. Tio was just introducing me to... Wait. Good day. I don't know. Tio was just introduced me to the Eleanor and yawning on about this little outing he has planned. Hey, how come you never told me you'd never been to the aquarium before? Makes sense, though. I reckon it was built a bit after you left the bay, right? So I doubt you had time to check it out. Pretty much. Most of my free time has been taken up with moving and unpacking boxes. I couldn't help but find myself agreeing with his words. It was crazy how Leon seemed to know me so well, even though we hadn't the chance to speak to each other like this in a while. But I'm curious to see what it's like. What about you, Nori? I couldn't help but let Kiara's nickname for her slip. Oh, yes, I'm the same. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I've never been to an aquarium before, so this should be fun. Well, here's hoping the weather will be more lenient tomorrow. It was pissing down buckets yesterday, wasn't it? Did you make it home all right, Sunfish? All of a sudden, that eerie feeling comes back, and I resist the urge to turn around and look behind me. I only now notice that I've had my back to the dark alley this entire time. Angel? Sorry, what was that? You alright? You look like you've seen a ghost. I watch as Leon looks behind me before glancing at Tio and Eleanor for what seems like reassurance. No, it's nothing. I guess I've had a long day at work. Nah, I get it. Feeling tired? You should head on home then. Please, don't let us keep you longer than we should. Want me to drop you off? Cards out front. As much as I appreciated everyone's concern, I honestly wanted to be left alone right now to clear my head. And going on a walk would surely do me wonders. Besides, it was, somewhat, bright out and there were people around, so I had no reason to worry about my non-existent stalker. I also heard that some new merchandise arrived at the local manga store, which I had been meaning to check out, so that would surely help me get my mind off things. It was along my route home anyway. What harm could possibly come from a quick detour? At that thought, I quickly placated everyone's concern before bidding my goodbyes and heading off alone down the street. It wasn't until I got far enough away from the library that the eerie feelings started to dissipate. The nostalgic smell of comic books and plastic greets me as I entered the all-too-familiar manga store, and immediately beeline my way towards the anime aisle. I was set on collecting the last remaining accessories for my mini Attack on Giants display, and I wasn't about to let my paranoia get in the way of that. But as I was passing through a few styles... God, what? But as I was passing through a few of the aisles, I noticed a familiar shade of pink near the cashier. Is that Ren? This is my favorite look so far. I didn't even notice his motorbike out front, if he even brought it. Up till now, I always assumed he walked everywhere. Is that a new tattoo? I don't know if it's new. I think it's new because it's got like the... What is it called? The second skin on it? I have tattoos. I know what they're called. And even though he was wearing a mask and had his hair tied back, I could easily make out his large and lanky frame anywhere. Sneaking closer, I noticed how he appeared to be in a hushed conversation with the manager about something confidential, if their closeness was anything to go by, before he placed a thick manila envelope into her hands and leans back. Oh, I wonder what's inside. Was Ren trading in some old manga? Ooh, what if it's Attack on Giants? Though if it is AOG, then I'm not sure why he would want to trade them in. With how popular the franchise is currently, there isn't much of a high demand. If anything, there's too much consumable media being produced right now. Everywhere I go, all I see is Haruko. And I wouldn't have it any other way. And speaking of my beloved Haruko, now that I got a better look at Ren, isn't that the limited edition spring Haruko hoodie? I thought they weren't selling them anymore. But just as I'm about to make myself known to ask questions, Ren is already turning on his heel and slipping behind the large racks filled with cosplay and gaming-themed apparel. His height does him no favors, though, as I watch his head peek out from atop while he bobs and weaves his way towards the side entrance. At the very moment, my phone decides to jump scare me by suddenly going off, and startled me enough to temporarily forget about Ren. Letting out a series of cusses, I reach into my back pocket and pull it out, only to see Moth's name flash on the screen. With a grin, I accept the video call and hold the phone up to my face. Hey, listen, now's not a really good time to talk, but... Oh no, that's terrible. Get well soon. Or, sorry for your loss. Or whatever. Anyway, listen. Guess who won an all-paid holiday trip overseas? Me, that's who. It's been a while since I last seen Moth's face, but they appeared just as boisterous as I remember them. And for free, too. I mean, okay, yeah. I still need to pay for food and stuff, but... Hey, where are you? I'm at a manga store. Hold on. Can we backtrack for a second? You got free tickets to where? Is that a Haruko figure? Can you get it for me, please? Please, 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 please. Moth. I'll pay you back. Promise. I'll pay for shipping, too. It's so cute. Look at his little outfit. Look at his tiny little jacket, his little shoes. With an eye roll, I reach behind me for the figurine, but not before picking up the accessories I originally came in here for, and slowly make my way towards the cash register. Once Moth's hoots and hollers calm down, I generally try to coax them back onto the original topic. Oh, right. Guess where I'm going? Well, it's actually a surprise. Seriously? A good surprise, though. Hey, you're still in core... For a moment, their screen starts to lag and a loading symbol pops up. Moth? But I'm gonna be in out. That's okay with you. Their voice cuts off and out. In and out, giving an almost robotic effect before the screen eventually fades to black. With a heavy sigh, I end the call and shoot Moth a text to let them know that they got disconnected yet again. But as I absent-mindedly looked out the window, I noticed the blurry outline of Ren's figure sitting on a bench outside, busying himself with what looked like a phone in his hands. Next! The cashier's voice pulls me away from my thoughts, and I quickly pay for my purchases, all while sparing not-so-secretive glances at Ren from beyond the shop window to make sure that he's still there. It was strange, but I couldn't help but hope I'd get a chance to catch up with him on my way out. I know it'd barely been more than a few hours since I last saw Ren, but I still wanted to thank him for letting me stay at his place for the night, and for washing my clothes, cooking me breakfast, driving me to work. The cashier pulls my attention away by handing me a bag and receipt, and I give them my thanks before making a beeline towards the exit. But just as the door swings open, I notice that Ren had already left. He was no longer on the beach where I last saw him, and I couldn't spot him on either end of the street either. It was like he was never there in the first place, and I almost find myself wondering if I had imagined the whole thing. It was a shame, though. I really wanted to see him and his charming smile again. But Cortland Bay isn't that big of a coastal town in retrospect, so I'm sure we'll bound to run into each other again sooner or later. I mean, I literally met Ren at my own workplace because we shared a few common interests in books. His just happened to be about native flora. That kind of stuff wasn't something either of us could control, and I was most likely looking too deep into it still. It still felt strange all the same. Oh well, there was no use in dwelling over it. I was bound to run into Ren again at some point, regardless if I had a way to contact him or not. It was beginning to get dark once I arrived back at my apartment complex, so I quickly ushered my way up the staircase and onto my floor. But as I'm making the long trek up the stairs, I bump into someone lingering about the corner and almost ended up tumbling down. Whoa! Hey, watch it! Glancing up, I noticed it's the cashier from yesterday who was glaring daggers at me while I tried to steady myself with the railing. That was Olivia, wasn't it? She makes no effort to help me, though she does move to the side in order to give me space at the top of the stairs. It's then when I notice the giant basket of laundry in her arms, and it makes me wonder if she was actually going to carry it all the way to the laundromat by herself. Clearly, she was stronger than she looked. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Olivia cuts herself off once the severity of the situation finally sinks in, before she sucks in her cheeks and lets out an expatriative chuckle. Seriously? What could she possibly find so funny about the situation? Out of all places, a staircase? Really? Your boyfriend sure has a messed up sense of humor. I spit. What? No, it's nothing. Look, I didn't mean to knock you down the staircase like that. I've got a lot on my mind lately, and I wasn't looking where I was going. Hey, it happens. Most certainly didn't. But Olivia seemed to be having a rough day. So I wasn't going to make things worse by being rude to her. Did she get fired? Is that why he was paying the guy? He's like, hey, fire this bitch. That'd be sick. She already looked over the edge for some reason, especially with how she kept sneaking glances over both of our shoulders. It was almost like she was looking for something, and I would have asked her about it if she didn't beat me to it. So where's that boyfriend of yours anyway? Not lurking around the corner like a creepy psychopath, is he? Who? Seriously? Your boyfriend, the guy you visit the souvenir shop with the other day. Oh, Ren. He's not my boyfriend. We're just, I've never seen the man before in my life. He's just a guy I'm interested in. You're interested in someone like him? I feel sorry for you. Excuse me? Nothing. Just the ramblings of a stressed out university student. Anyway, I'm in a rush, so please move. Clearly done with the conversation, Olivia sidesteps me and starts to make her way down the stairway, but she only manages to get a few feet away before she turns around once more. Resting her laundry basket on a hip, she looks up at me with an unreadable look. You live on this floor as well? Then it looks like we're going to be seeing each other more often. But just some neighborly advice. If you plan on bringing Ren around, keep it down. I'm not afraid to file a noise complaint. And with that, she disappears around the corner. What was that all about? What a bit. No. Deciding it wasn't worth my time to mull it over, I slowly make my way towards my apartment. Not bothering to turn on the light, I toss my keys into the tray, shrug off my jacket, and unceremoniously drop myself onto the couch. Today had been a whirlwind of events and emotions, and the worst part was that it still hadn't ended yet. I still had an hour or so left before I considered any dinner plans. So I figured I might as well spend the evening winding down in the meantime. All too quickly, an idea pops into my head, and I reach over to grab my phone. Oh, I had that option not to invite someone. Let's save. Can't all be. We're not going to invite someone over. I didn't know that was an option. Maybe it wasn't such a good idea after all. I mean, I've already spent the entire day talking to my friends, so perhaps it'd be best to spend time with myself instead. After all, I definitely deserved it. So much has been going on lately, and I could just use a distraction to take my mind off things. And so, I decided to make myself an early dinner before settling into the comfort of my bed and catching up with some wood comments. Once I had nothing else left to do for the night, I got changed into some comfy pajamas and brushed my teeth before settling into bed. The news chapter for Always With You was going to drop in a few hours, and I figured I might as well stay up and read it before going to sleep. But my eyes were starting to get droopy, and all my mind could think about was the double date I had planned with Leon, Tio, and Eleanor tomorrow. Man, I sure hope everything will be fine. But I know worrying about it wasn't going to do me any favors, so I let my pent-up stress out on my pillow by smacking it to make it less lumpy. Though the moment I unceremoniously flopped back down, I noticed the cold draft, and the fact that my bedroom window was left wide open. Strange. I don't remember opening it earlier. With a groan, I get up from my bed and go to close it, but once I lock it shut, something moves from within the shadows and startles me. Squinting, I could barely make out the black mass moving through the gaps in the fire escape balcony. Was that a person? It certainly wouldn't be strange for someone to take a cigarette break at this hour, but I couldn't smell any telltale signs of smoke. Maybe it was my landlord's cat out for a leisurely midnight stroll? That idea seemed more realistic in my mind. Yet despite my futile attempts at calming myself, I still somehow find the willpower to go back into bed, rather than open the window once more and take another curious peek outside. I didn't have a death wish, nor did I have the stupidity of those cliché horror film characters. But before I turn away, I double-checked to make sure that the window is locked shut and the blinds are fully closed. I wasn't about to risk it. Happy with the precautions I put in place, I make a hasty dive towards the warmth and safety of my bed. Snuggled deep within my blankets, I find it harder and harder to think about someone breaking in, and even more so with keeping my eyes open. Before I knew it, pink-colored sheep slowly filled my mind as I drifted away. Oh. I've never had that happen. Interesting. No? We're gonna save. Crazy. Okay, well, that'll be the end of the day. We finally caught up. Sorry, I was so behind. But thank you guys so much for watching. Did you hear that? That was crazy. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will continue this next week. And just remember, if you're sad and lonely, so is he. Let him inside. He wants to be warm. He wants to come inside. He wants to be in your house. He wants to be in your bed. All right. Love you guys. Bye.